There are 5 couples, and we hang out virtually every weekend because of COVID-19. One of them called me up yesterday asking how to open a package of cannabis I dropped off weeks ago, and I found out they were all hanging out at a lake house rental for the week without me and my wife. They all know time and money wouldn't have been an issue, and to rub salt into the wound, one of them posted on Facebook about what an amazing time it was, with a photo of them all wearing specific funny t-shirts that a month ago I suggested we all wear for fun once we could hang out together in person. They liked the shirt I designed, so I suggested we all do the same. Clearly, they planned this for a while but kept us in the dark. Feels awful, and I don't know what to think. Is it silly to feel upset about this? Or am I justified in feeling a bit used and unwanted? Edited to add, whoa, this blew up. A few things, the cannabis thing just started recently, and everyone in the group has kids or babies and brought them on the trip. I will be asking straight up what happened to the one who organized it. Update. Someone had it right. It was a queen bee situation. For whatever reason, she doesn't think I like her. Well, now I do, but I didn't before all this, and has been forgetting to invite us to things. The last time was at her birthday celebration, and as it turns out, she was celebrating her birthday early on this trip. We've had to write off the others because they are afraid of upsetting their place in the group. So we'll be finding new friends to invest in once this pandemic is over. Story 1. Honestly, I don't know how close you guys are or the type of relationship you have. If this was me with my friends, any one of us would easily be able to bring it up without it being weird. Just be straight up and ask one of them, maybe the one you're closest to, how come you weren't invited? There's nothing silly about what you're saying. You consider them to be good friends, and now you're wondering whether you are to them too. Clear it up, and then make the decision to either cut them off or maybe they'll see that they upset you and might try to make it up to you. Maybe they have a valid reason for not inviting you. Don't jump to conclusions just because people on the internet that you don't even know are telling you that these people are not your friends. They don't know you or your relationship to them or what they are even like. If you made a mistake and ended up hurting a friend unintentionally, wouldn't it suck to just be cut off without the chance to explain yourself? This will only work if you actually bring it up. Ask them why they didn't invite you. It doesn't have to be something uncomfortable. Just be real and honest with them. And then decide. Story 2. I was this guy in high school. My group would regularly have local area network parties on the weekends and play games like Tribes or some other games, not invite me, and then talk about it at lunch Monday through Friday. When I realized I didn't have anything to talk about with them because it revolved around the weekend parties, I found a new social group. At a certain point, it just wasn't worth my time to be friends with them since it was obvious they didn't care about me. I'd say this was one time, so maybe call them out on it. Could have been one of them that dropped the ball and was supposed to tell you about the trip, or it could have been them trying to be polite. Maybe there wasn't enough room at the cabin for 10 people. I know it sucks to be excluded, but don't assume malice where there may not be any. Story 3. Talk to them and see if you can get a straight answer. Maybe you aren't as liked as you think, or maybe there's another unknown reason. People are always way too awkward to say things like, hey, Jim smells bad. I don't want to share a house with him for a week. Or, you know how he goes off ranting about things. He smokes way too much, he doesn't know when to call it quits with the beers. I don't want to spend this entire trip high, etc. Or just the couple who thought of going away doesn't like you too for whatever reason. My guess is it's one couple, probably the one who initiated the let's go away thing. But none of the rest stood up for you too, so that sucks. Are you actually friends with all of them? Or close to just one couple? You mentioned weed. Everyone is friendly with their weed dealer, but that doesn't mean they want to take you on a vacation. Also, one quick look, and all your posts seem to be about politics. Maybe they are tired of hearing about it if that's something you bring up frequently. Or again, you offended the main couple by being pro or anti-dash. Or they could be secretly having a massive orgy. Story 4. Without knowing your dynamics, it's best to ask and then decide. It happened to me before, and the only way I knew was when one of them knocked on my door at 7 to ask me to follow him to drop off the rental car they all got for their getaway. I only realized that when I was dropping him home, there are just some people you are better off not being friends with. Story 5. This happened to me a few years ago. People I considered my best mates through high school all made a camping trip for a weekend that included them, their girlfriends, and my girlfriend at the time, along with a few others. I saw a message on my girlfriend's phone pop up, asked her about it, and she said that the guys made the group and she didn't want to tell me about it. These were guys that I went to schoolies with, a week-long trip after school finishes in Australia, and I did most of the planning for that trip. I pretty much never hung out with them again and haven't looked back since. It was easier considering I was only 18 and had plenty of time to make friends at university and other places. It hurt like hell being left out like that, but I'm glad I didn't try to hang on to those friendships. Story 6. I've learned to conduct a little experiment when social relationships begin to feel one-sided. You have to consciously stop being the initiator and watch who reaches out to you, and sometimes why. I've only done it a couple of times in my life. You find out who cares about a relationship and who cares about what they get from you. Story 7. If they are friends, then you have a justified reason to express your annoyance. How you express this is dependent on what and how you communicate regularly. Whether it's just being soft-spoken and honest when it comes up, or you blurt out how rude it was to exclude you. They may feel bad and, like good friends, should try to make things right. Give them a chance to fix it. Story 8. It is just nasty. If people do not want you around, that is one thing, but to sneak around and even lie to you about it is just infuriating. You should not feel silly about this. They have been very rude to you, and you should ask and demand an answer for why you were being treated like this. Story 9. Honestly, dude, they sound like total losers. They even stole your t-shirt idea, those worthless, unoriginal hacks. I hope they at least pay you for the marijuana. It's up to you if you want to ask those weasels why they went behind your back like that, planned a trip, gladly took your drugs, and made no mention of it. If it were me, I'd be taking large dumps in paper bags and lighting them on fire at their doorstep. Ding dong, your marijuana's here. Story 10. When someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them is a truth from Maya Angelou. I don't disagree with asking why, per se, but I'd be asking myself what answer they're looking for to justify being excluded. I think you ask to force the issue, but accept that the exclusion wasn't an accident, and accept the painful truth that they're not your friends. They're nothing more than casual acquaintances. Or customers, I guess. Story 11. My friends have done this to me as well. I invite those guys to drink at my house every week, and I thought they were really good buddies of mine. I logged onto Facebook one day and saw dozens of pictures of those two guys at a girl's house with 10 other people, playing board games, then going out to a birthday dinner, then bowling. I would have wanted to go. To make things worse, I've always struggled with making new friends. I was shy for most of my life. I've been eager to make more friends, and those guys know I would love to hang out with their other friends, but they don't invite me. When I invite them to hang out, I've tried to introduce them to the few other friends I have, but they don't do the same for me. It's been a learning experience. I was pretty hurt when I saw all the pictures, but now I just feel like I'm going to make new friends, and they're going to be better friends than those guys. Use what you've learned about your friends to evaluate your relationships with them, and use it as motivation to meet new and better friends. Story 12. You definitely should not feel silly to be upset about this. When things like this happen to me, I just think positively and am glad that it happened now so I can move on. Of course, it is hard, you won't be able to just forget, but you have to realize you were being used. They have no right not inviting you if you spend time together all the time, and they were wearing a t-shirt you suggested. They are not friends. Story 13. I acknowledge that all that is unfortunate, but all I really have to say is that wearing matching t-shirts is awful. Okay, seriously though, if you are the weed man, obviously everyone is saying, you were not their friend to begin with. I would ask yourself if you were friends with these people before you started selling or helping them get weed, or if you just met them through that. If you were friends before, ask them why you were not invited. If not, start charging them more and look for better friends. Your emotions are justified either way. Sorry that happened to you, man. Story 14. Confront them all about why you were not invited, and if it is not a valid reason, then never talk to them again. You would be surprised how petty people can be over the smallest things. Story 15. You dropped off weed. Sounds like you are the drug dealer, not the friend. They got their connection from you before they left, and that is the limit of your involvement. Story 16. I get it, it sucks when this happens. Usually, they are being difficult and you need to reevaluate things. On the other hand, did they potentially think you were busy that weekend? I know, probably not, but misunderstandings do happen. Story 17. Going to echo what I see for reinforcement. Maybe it's time to reevaluate who these friends are for your wife and yourself. However, I'd put him on the spot over the phone and ask why you weren't invited. See if there is a valid reason. If there isn't, then you know where you stand. It seems the shirt thing could have been spiteful, but I could be reading into it. Story 18. Hey there. I don't know how close you are, but I would suggest asking one of them why you weren't invited. If they squirm and are awkward, then I think that says it all. Maybe you and your lovely wife should find new friends. Life is too short to be the tag-along couple. I hate when cliques start to show in groups. Yes, if you are ever in England, you're always welcome to come to our house for a smoke. Haha. Story 19. Don't worry about it. Drop all contact and make new friends. In the long term, these guys will use you until they can't anymore. By the way, if they are smoking the weed you brought weeks ago, asking you to help open it, and using your shirt idea, they are actually openly slapping you in the face. Story 20. I have these LAN get-togethers 2 to 3 times a year. I invite 2 friends out of the 5 guys in the group. We smoke some and have a blast. I don't want the other guys because I'm not close enough to them to let them raid my cooler. Also, one is a total tattletale. He tells his girlfriend everything, and she tells all our girlfriends. Mine knows and leaves us alone. Is someone a total tattletale near you? Story 21. Can you provide an update when you talk to them? Something similar recently happened to my wife and me, and I understand how upsetting it is. Turns out my buddy's wife doesn't like my wife at all. It's weird because she asked her to be a bridesmaid, and it all seemed really sudden to us. It really sucks because while we have a largish friend group, they were the only people we consistently hung out with. Story 22. Sounds like they're not close friends. When I was 18, I had to move out of my hometown to the big city. I had a few friends in that city and thought they would be my new friend group around which my world would revolve. However, I soon found I wasn't clicking with them like my friends back home, and their whole scene made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't want to hang out with them, and I started to panic, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have no friends. I may have even wept. After that initial panic, one morning I was suddenly overcome with the most intense sensation of euphoric relief. I could almost physically feel myself shedding a weight that had been on my shoulders my entire life. I could feel a negative force draining out of my body and leaving me feeling refreshed and revitalized. I didn't realize what a burden friends had been in my life, what a harrowing source of anxiety, worrying every day about friends and what we were going to do and being cool and so on. They were my everything, but I wasn't actually enjoying it at all. Life has been so much better since. It allowed me to find my real self and pursue my real interests. As I meet new people, I enjoy their company and joke around with them or whatever, but I'm careful not to let people become close friends. I don't want that in my life. I don't want to be relied upon. I want to be able to relax and know no one is going to bother me. That is invaluable, and it feels adult. True independence. I'm now 37 and married with children. I don't regret breaking up with my friends at all. I feel like I missed nothing. It was entirely necessary for me to flourish. I'd say this is your cue to exit the friend game, and I'm happy for you. Story 23. My friends have been hanging out the entire summer without me, and I have to check Snapchat maps and ask them if I can join. They generally say yes, but the only time any of them message me first is if they want to ask me a question, since I'm academically the smartest in the group. I think I can count on one hand the number of times they've been the first to invite me somewhere. I just got so sick of it that I deleted Snapchat and Instagram from my phone. If they want to talk to me, they have my number. Honestly, I've never depended on friends, so frankly, I don't need any. To answer your question, it depends on how much you value your friendship. Was this the straw that broke the camel's back? If so, do whatever you and your wife think is deserving. Story 24. Your feelings are definitely justified. I would talk to a few of them one-on-one and ask them directly why they did not invite you. There had to be a reason. My first guess would be that they tend to hang out more often, so naturally they may have just forgotten about you. But you say you see each other virtually every weekend, so that's not the case. Unless perhaps they do hang out in person quite often, but you made a point of not wanting to hang out in person. Is that the case? Story 25. I have almost always been that person on the outside. It is painful and difficult, but I am used to it now. So I kind of just gave up trying to be included. If I see people I know, I see people I know. If I do not, I do not. Usually more the latter than the former. I also do not go on holiday a lot, as it will be just me otherwise. Story 26. Life's far too short to stress over this kind of stuff. They clearly are not friends. If they had a reason that was justified, they would have explained it to you. Move on, focus on your family, and find true friends worth your time. Story 27. I had friends like this once. They never bothered inviting me anywhere and occasionally made plans that didn't include me right in front of me. I'm in very few of their group photos, and they even included a new girl in the group in plans a few times without me. It's hurtful, but you have to find new friends. Like actual ones. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're not worthy of their time. They may seem friendly, and they very well could like you and be decent people, but they aren't friends to you. No one deserves that. You'll find a person or people that you can connect with, and that wouldn't dream of making plans without you. And if you don't, so what? You sound young, so having friends is probably a big deal, but as you get older, they become less and less important. If I'm honest, my grandma is my best friend. I have a few other friends, one that I've known since I was 6, and hang out with whenever we get the chance. This isn't often due to working and living hours apart. But my point is, you'll have enough social interactions with people you work with, go to class with, etc., that you won't miss having a clique. There's less conflict that way, too. You really only need one good friend, and it doesn't sound like any one of these people is going to be that friend to you.